Winter is over, spring is here, and with summer just around the corner, now seems like the best time to get a review out of the gloves I've used over these past 2 winters. I've gone through 3 gloves over this past year, and wanted to share my thoughts on the experience I've had with them. Keeping your hands warm is crucial to riding comfortably in cold conditions, but also the most challenging to get right. I can layer up as much as I want on the rest of my body, but your hands need to stay flexible, dexterous. While you don't need surgeon levels of control, restricted movements on your hands can really mess with your control of the bike, which is arguably more dangerous than being cold. While helmets, jackets, and pants may get the most attention, I think gloves are one of the most complicated pieces of gear we all have to wear. It has been the one piece of gear that I've had to buy multiples of to try to find the right balance of variables in the design of the glove. Now, I just want to state that this is not a sponsored video by any one company or entity or person or anything. This is just a review and comparison of some gloves that I've been using over this past 1.5 to 2 years, and really just to help you make a more informed decision the next time you have to buy some gear. Online product reviews on store pages generally just boil down to love it or hate it reviews, which makes it difficult to assess how genuine any of that feedback really is, whether or not it's actually true, etc, etc, etc. You know how that shit goes, right? I want to give you as an objective review of my subjective experience as I possibly can. Sponsorships sound great and all, because who doesn't like money? But if it means only saying positive things to sell something that is total crap, no thanks. In my opinion, that is selling out. So these are the categories by which I will be comparing each of the gloves to try to get some sort of baseline between all 3. First off is price. Second is the overall build, feel, quality of the materials. Third is comfort, tactileness, dexterity, kind of bunched all of those together. Next is weather protection, and then rider protection, CE rated, etc. And finally, does it live up to its marketing claims? Whether it be on its website, on any tags on the actual glove itself, does it actually do what they say it will do? Sound good? Then let's get into it. The first gloves I'll be going over are designed by Bilt. At the time of purchase, they were $49.99, and their overall build is okay. The materials feel decent for the price. I mean, it's nothing to write home about. They're not outstanding feeling, they're okay. But they have held up very well after nearly 1.5 years of constant daily use. So it's pretty good for the price. It's a good starter glove. As far as comfort, there's no insulation or extra padding, so the gloves do fit pretty comfortably right off the bat. It's easy to feel the controls of the bike, as well as manipulating tiny things like your zippers that you forgot to zip. There's no touchscreen finger bits though, so you are going to have to go through the arduous task of taking your gloves off to use your phone. I know, wild. As far as weather protection, there's really none to speak of. These are basic gloves for just fair weather. In the heat, the black fake leather soaks up just all the UVs and just creates a stinky, sweaty sauna in your gloves. On a cold day, the lack of any insulation means you get all of the wind chill factor. And on a rainy day, they are absolutely not waterproof, resistant, or anything. On a cold rainy day, I mean, you might as well just not be wearing any gloves. You're basically not wearing any gloves at that point. My hand turned nearly blue once, which was interesting. Does it live up to any of its marketing claims? There was no real marketing on these gloves when I bought them. You know, no special tags. It didn't say that it was anything unique. It was just a set of gloves, basically. No special materials, no special features. These are just a basic set of gloves that I went cheap on so I could afford all the other gear. They are not CE rated, so they're not made for any intense crashes, but they'll probably give you some protection in a low speed drop or something. It's better than nothing, but not by much, I suppose. Next on the list is the Kemimoto heated gloves. These were $109.99 at regular price. Overall build and feel of these gloves is decent. The materials generally feel pretty high quality, but a couple bits of it have already begun falling apart. The little touchpad bits on the fingers and thumbs so you can use your phone have already begun to wear off just after a few months. The stitching has held together when it's gone over my rain jacket, and the battery packs themselves feel pretty solid, and they stay connected, at least while you're wearing them. So it's a pretty good grade as far as the overall build, I would say. As far as comfort goes, they're pretty comfortable overall as well. They do have some insulation built in, so they are a little thicker than just your basic gloves, but not so thick that you can't grab zippers and such, manipulate some fine things. The heating unit does warm up the gloves pretty well. If you turn them on like 5 or 10 minutes before you go out riding, you know, and you stick your hands in, it feels like it's got that just out of the dryer feel, which is kind of nice. Yeah, overall comfort on these gloves has been good. They're synthetic fabrics, so there's no real breaking in period that you need to worry about. However, all of this is kind of let down by its weather protection. Based on the ads that they have, it seems like these are made for snow conditions, not just kind of cold conditions. And so I figured that if it's made for that, then they should definitely be able to handle the weather we have here in Northern California. On a fair day, you know, maybe upper 40s to low 50s, I could see these gloves working. But anything colder than that, and I found that the insulation on them is just meh. The heating unit does work, but again, like, it gets canceled out the moment you're going anywhere over 40 miles an hour, because wind chill factor just hits the gloves and their insulation just doesn't work. Now, I realize that no glove is going to keep your hand 100% warm. You're going to get cold. It's going to get a little cold, but after just a little while, it genuinely felt like my hands felt as cold as if I was wearing my built gloves, basically. It only felt mildly warmer. Not by much, though. Honestly, for gloves with a heating unit, battery pack, and marketed as being used in snowy conditions, I feel pretty let down in this category. And honestly, this only gets worse once it starts raining. After just an average downpour of rain, the gloves were totally soaked through. Like, 100% soaked through. This was hugely disappointing, as one of the main reasons why I had remembered buying these was because they were supposed to be waterproof. Unfortunately, they are not. I will say that the heating unit inside the gloves does not seem to be affected by water getting soaked through the glove. I mean, it's still on in any case. It doesn't short circuit. It's not heating the glove at all once the glove is soaked with water. But it is still technically on. As far as riding protection, this is also a glove with no CE rating. Has some hard knuckles on the back, and that's about it. The materials feel good. I mean, they feel like a quality material, but they don't feel like anything that's made for a slide. So again, it's probably only the barest of protection. I'd accept this if they at least provided warmth for your hands during cold days, but well, they don't. So do they live up to their marketing claims? Based on the Kemimoto website, this is a big fat no, in my opinion. This isn't to throw shit at Kemimoto in general. I've generally been very happy with their travel gear that I've bought, or their luggage, I suppose, that I bought. Overall quality and for the price that they asked for, like, it's been good. Plus they have sales all the time, so you can pick stuff up for cheap. and I've been overall pretty happy with Kemimoto, honestly. But with this particular set of gloves, I think its design needs to be reevaluated, or the marketing material needs to be changed. Something needs to happen there, because they have really not lived up to what is claimed. And again, like, I don't even live in snow country. I don't go into the snow. But these gloves don't work in conditions where it's not snowing. So I don't see them working in conditions where it is snowing. But maybe your mileage will vary. Again, I'm not very good with the cold in general. I will say it did fit perfectly first time I bought them, based on their online sizing charts. So I'm really happy about that, at least. It's just with these gloves. It's just... Look, I'm not mad, okay? I'm just disappointed. Finally, I have these set of Dainese. Dainese. It's an Italian brand. I want to say Dainese. Pronunciation says Dainese. Dainese. Maybe it's Dainese? Dainese? However you want to say it. Dainese? Dainese? I almost want to say it like a Japanese. Dainese? Dainese? Which maybe that's as close. I don't know. Dainese? Dainese? You can let me know which one you prefer. But anyways, the Dainese gloves are $120. And the overall build of these gloves is pretty outstanding, actually. I've heard of the Dainese brand, and I've heard a lot of good things about them. They generally seem to be held in pretty high regard. And if these gloves are a sign of how they treat their designs and products, then that's a really good start. The materials feel super high quality. It's just a super solid build. Really good stitching. It also comes with touchy bits on the fingers, but these are fully sewn on and integrated into the glove. So these don't look like they're going to just fall off and wear off over time of use. As far as comfort goes, they are relatively heavily insulated in comparison to the first two gloves. So while they will fit well, it is a little hard to get a grip with. There's no problem in manipulating your controls on the bike once you get used to them, but there is basically a 0% chance of adjusting any zippers or doing any sort of fine finger work as you're riding. You just have to pull off on the side and take them off. Granted, I feel like I might have bought these one size a little too large, but yeah, you're gonna have to play around with that if you try these on, obviously. In your first ride or two with them, your hands are probably gonna feel a little fatigued because they are so thick. So it's gonna take a little time to adjust to. That might be the reason why online there's some negative reviews saying they are completely uncomfortable. They are not that uncomfortable. They take a little time to get used to. However, I'm okay with this because as far as weather protection goes, extremely impressed by the weather protection of these gloves. Like, hands down, these have been the best gloves I have ever worn in my life. Not just motorcycle gloves, but just gloves in general in wet weather. The insulation keeps nearly all the wind chill factor out, as well as providing that buffer zone between your skin and contact with the outside layer of fabric. So your hands stay pretty well insulated. You know, they get a little cold, but there's no heating unit in it, and they're still good. You know, on a really cold day, it just feels like a chilly day on your hands. But on a rainy day, holy crap, these gloves are amazing. The first time I took these gloves out on a rainy day and I got to work, that was the first time I ever took my gloves off and my hands were literally dry. Like, they were 100% dry. I don't know what kind of magic those Italians are doing, but I think we should just send them more wine, pizza, and pasta. Because seriously, freaking magic. my dudes. Magic. 100%. Okay, it's not quite magic. It's called science. But advanced technology presented to those with no understanding appears as magic. They have what they call a de-dry system, which is basically layers of magical fibers that are waterproof, yet also breathable. I don't know how that works because I never thought I would ever put those two words into the same sentence, but somehow, scientifically, they do. And if you have an actual genuine explanation of how this is working, I would love to hear it because I am fascinated by this. All I can say is that these genuinely work. Like that system, that fabric, that layer inside works. Cold, rainy days, my hands were warm, dry. I mean, they were, you know, a little cold, right? But nothing, honestly, compared to the other two gloves, like they were basically just warm. And, you know, it's on a slightly warmer day, like even then my hands were still dry. You know, when I took my hands out of the gloves, they didn't come out smelling like the inside of a jockstrap, you know, which is a big win. I don't know what they're like in all out hot sunny weather, but I'm probably gonna have to try them out because they've been working pretty well. They are also CE level 2 rated for protection, and they are the only gloves so far that I've tried that are actually rated for protecting you in a crash. So that's just another win for the Danies gloves, honestly. The knuckles on them are actually a little bit softer, which I'm wondering if there's a good reason for that, rather than just being super hard. And they also do have like a slight little cushion on the palm, which is nice. That's something else that the other gloves don't have. As far as living up to its marketing claims, you know, overall, I was pretty skeptical when I was looking at these because, again, marketing claims love to say whatever it takes to make that sale, right? But the dude I was talking with at the Cycle Gear, which, I mean, you gotta love your local Cycle Gear, honestly. He did kind of convince me to try it out because he himself had been riding and using them. And again, like Danies has always seemed to be held in high regard for quality, so I decided to take a chance. And honestly, I am not disappointed in the slightest. Their de-dry system does exactly what they claim it would do, and it's been great. What more can you say? Again, they do feel a little bit chunkier than probably just a standard set of gloves, but I'm sure your local Cycle Gear carries them, so you just check them out and try them on yourself. Online, they've gotten some poor reviews as being super uncomfortable, but I have not found that to be the case. They don't fit like a pair of yoga pants, obviously, but the added insulation does take some getting used to. But for the weather protection that it provides, 100% worth it. Look, overall, I've been pleasantly surprised by the Danies brand, and would highly recommend them as a glove to buy for winter riding. Potentially year-round, depending on how they perform in hot weather. Maybe I'll report back on that at some point. They're only 20 to 30 bucks more than the Kamimoto gloves, and you can pick them up right now at any Cycle Gear, I'm sure, or just off the Danies website. I mean, while I love the Kamimoto luggage that they have to offer, I would struggle to recommend at least this particular set of gloves that they offer. I can't really speak to how the other gloves perform because I haven't bought those and I haven't tried those, but offhand, I would say that these Danies gloves are a far better investment in yourself. Well, thanks for sticking around to the end. Hopefully you found this informative, maybe a little entertaining. I don't know. Let me know what you thought down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Oh my god, you were not just doing 2 minutes. Okay, good. Like you were definitely recording all of that, right?